This video covers lens modification and optimization in the BE FREE software for users without a linked topographer to the fitting system. Practitioners with an integrated topographer should review the video on the post-treatment response for linked instruments to the BE FREE platform. This training tool is designed to instruct practitioners on the simple and efficient method to modify lenses in the BE FREE software. The variety of responses to orthokeratology can be fairly broad. Knowing what to modify when the lens undercorrects, or rides high, or produces staining can be a challenge, especially for the neophyte orthokeratologist. The BE FREE software was designed to simplify the entire process of analysis, lens modification, and processing. Users without a linked topographer can compare the subtractive maps in their instrument to the gallery of outcomes in the BE FREE software. This helps to determine the appropriate response following wear and the correct magnitude of change required. Then the software will automatically calculate the precise modification to optimize the fit. Let's review the first of two cases and how easy it is to modify and improve the fit in the BE FREE software. Here we see a post-wear axial subtractive map which shows a blue treatment zone well centered to the white pupil margin. The effect is positioned optimally enough to be characterized as a bullseye topographical response, the ideal outcome following overnight wear. The axial subtractive map provides an interpretation of the power changes and resultant visual effects the treatment creates. In this case, we would expect the patient to be quite pleased with the visual outcome based on this well-centered bullseye topography. Another post-treatment analysis typically employed in Ortho K is the tangential subtractive map. This interpretation defines the lens position in the closed eye environment by highlighting the epithelial changes following wear. Compare the red ring of paracentral steepening to the white pupil border and visual axis in the center of the topography. In this case, we observe a topographical effect that appears ideally positioned to the corneal apex. Both the axial and tangential subtractive maps would suggest this patient had an ideal bullseye response. However, after full effect, this left eye exhibited a slight undercorrection. A small modification could improve the visual outcome for the patient. Let's review how we would modify the lens in the BE FREE software so that you can see how quick and easy it is to process and order a change to the lens construction and fit. Let's go to specialtylensdesign.com to log in and access the cloud-based BE FREE software. When the BE FREE software opens, you'll be on the dashboard page. Then, click on Patients. To modify an outcome, search for the patient name. Once you've found your patient, determine the eye that you want to modify and click Record Outcome. To modify the outcome, we need to first define what the topographical response was. Let's select Compare Maps. For users with a linked topographer, your map will appear in this window on the left. For users without a linked topographer, let's go back to your instrument and analyze the topographical outcome. Here are the post-treatment subtraction maps for our patient in axial and tangential interpretation. Let's go back to the BE FREE software and find the topography that most closely approximates or matches these topographies. The first possible outcome is the bullseye, the well-centered topographical response, the goal of orthokeratology. Central island shows apical steepening and often inferior displacement. The smiley face shows superior displacement of the treatment zone. Frowny face would be inferior displacement of the treatment zone. Decentration refers to lateral displacement of our treatment area, nasal or temporal. In this case, what was the topographical response that best matches this patient's outcome? Lateral decentration, frowny face, inferior, smiley face, superior, central island with apical steepening, or bullseye. The patient's actual topographies show a very well-centered orthokeratology effect, a bullseye topographical response. It would be appropriate to stay on the bullseye tab, then go down and click Select Bullseye as the actual response. In our results window, we see the overnight position labeled as bullseye. Next, we can enter any under or overcorrection in the residual spherical RX input box. We've told the software the topographical outcome was a bullseye, that we had a good effect, but we need an extra -125 RX change. The software will then adjust for the extra effect needed, modify the parameters appropriately, and we're ready to move forward with the order. Let's click Save. If we've made the changes that we require to right or left eye or both, let's now scroll down. We don't want to duplicate the previous lens. We want to redesign the lens with the requested changes. Let's click the Redesign Lens button. Let's again scroll down. In the lens history, we have our original lens, and then our newly modified lens with the changes required to the various zones. If we have instructions for the lab, we could click Edit. But if we're ready to process, let's click Review Order. If we had any special instructions or questions for the consultant, let's click Request Consultation for this order. Otherwise, simply click Submit to have this order sent directly to customer service for immediate processing. The order has been placed. You will also receive an email confirmation, and the lens will be manufactured and sent to you as soon as possible. The bullseye topographical response is the goal of orthokeratology treatment, but there are a number of other possible outcomes following orthokeratology lens wear. The central island shows apical steepening and is caused by excessive clearance and often a tight periphery. The smiley face is a loose lens that rides high and requires a tighter alignment zone. And finally, the frowny face is a low-riding lens that's too tight in the alignment zone. Let's review how simple it is to resolve these responses in the BE FREE software using a case example. In our second case, we see an effect that appears to be displaced low on this cornea. The axial interpretation shows a blue treatment zone inferiorly decentered in relationship with the visual axis and the pupil margin. These outcomes can result in reduced quality of vision and possibly some desiccation of the inferior limbal or conjunctival epithelium. The tangential display confirms the inferior displacement seen on the axial map. Notice the position of the red ring of paracentral steepening that appears low in relationship to the pupil. Both the axial and tangential subtractive maps are suggesting an inferior displacement of the orthokeratology effect. Additionally, this patient had a slight undercorrection. Let's review how simple the BE FREE software makes the process of modifying and ordering new parameters to optimize the fit for the patient. After logging into the BE FREE system and landing on the dashboard page, let's go to Patients. Then we'll search for the appropriate patient to modify. In this case, we want to modify the right eye. Let's click Record Outcome. The software will want to know our overnight position. In other words, what was the topographical response? Here's our axial and tangential subtractive maps. Let's go back to the BE FREE software and determine which response most closely approximates these topographies. Let's select Compare Maps to go to the gallery. When we review the gallery, we have the bullseye, a perfectly centered response. We have the central island, apical steepening. We have the smiley face, a superior positioned effect. We have the frowny face, an inferior position treatment, or the lateral decentration. In this case, the frowny face response most closely matches our topographical outcome. Next, we need to determine the severity of response. Was it a mild, moderate, or severe? When we review our topographies again, we wouldn't say this is mild inferior displacement. It's not a mild frowny face. It's definitely a moderate. It could possibly be a severe response. However, the severe response might be appropriate if the patient's comfort were poor and you were seeing desiccation of the inferior conjunctiva. In this case, our patient's comfort was acceptable and the conjunctiva was clear. Moderate would most likely be the correct response. If you're ever in doubt, always choose the moderate response. That will create a significant change in parameters without being too mild or too severe of a change. Let's check the moderate response. Then let's click the Select Frowny Face response. Going back to the overnight results window, we've confirmed that we had a frowny face topography with a moderate outcome. We can also enter any under or overcorrection that was present. When you're finished, click Save. We could go over to the left eye tab to create a response. Otherwise, if we're ready to process, let's scroll down. Let's select Redesign Lens to modify our parameters. Let's again scroll down. In our history, we can see the original custom lens. Then under Current, we can see our newly modified parameters with the changes that were made to optimize the fit. Let's select Review Order. If we required some assistance from the consultants, we could check Request Consultation. However, if you're ready to send this straight to customer service, you can click Submit for immediate processing. This order has been sent off directly to customer service. It's going to be processed, manufactured, and sent to you as soon as possible. The BE FREE Postwear Response options are primarily topographical in presentation. However, these same outcome descriptions and the associated modifications created by the software can also be used to resolve other findings. For instance, a lens that is bearing on the central cornea and creating persistent apical staining can be resolved with the smiley face response. Select mild for extremely light touch, moderate for significant staining, or severe when the lens is heavily bearing. A patient that's uncomfortable due to excessive edge lift or a very loose, sloppy fit can also be resolved with the smiley face response. Again, choose mild, moderate, or severe based on the apparent magnitude of change required. Conversely, lens discomfort can be due to inadequate edge lift or a lens appearing low and tight in the periphery. This is resolved with the frowny face response. Again, choose mild, moderate, or severe based on the degree of change required. The frowny face response can also be used in cases of adherence or when a lens is hard to remove. Both may be caused by inadequate edge lift. Excessive apical clearance and persistent dimple veiling are resolved with the central island response, which reduces the vault and tear thickness under the lens. Based on the appearance, choose mild, moderate, or severe. BE FREE users without a linked topographer to the software may want to consider the purchase of the Medmont topographer. This marriage of these two systems provides an unparalleled level of accuracy and efficiency in orthokeratology practice. The Medmont is not only the best tool for BE FREE treatment, it's also a world-class imaging tool with white light, fluorescein, and a full suite of dry eye testing and analysis displays. Speak to the Precision and Cardinal team about options and access to this amazing instrument, which will improve your BE FREE and orthokeratology success, but also offer the practice expanded testing, diagnosis, and patient education tools. Whether you have a linked topographer or not, the BE FREE software is a powerful tool to assist with lens design and fit optimization. It makes the complexity of Ortho K lens construction and modifications so simple that even a neophyte can produce outcomes equivalent to an expert. However, you also have support from the Precision and Cardinal consultation team. We are here to assist you through this entire process. Contact us at any point if we can help with processing or to answer questions. Thank you.